This is a excerpt from a paper that I wrote back in March of 2007, my senior year of undergraduate college at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And still very relatable to today, and as it was only 3-4 years ago. Title of the paper was Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. Curable, but is society ready to accept treatment? We know post-traumatic stress disorder is a type of anxiety disorder that results from a major stressor, such as the severe stress caused by an event such as 9/11, with symptoms of anxiety, nightmares, poor sleep, reliving the event, and concentration problems. We also know that PTSD is more common with women than men. While acute stress disorder is the term for the more temporary condition, this disorder is referred to PTSD if the symptoms last for more than 1 month. After watching the documentary and discussion about the soldiers from Iraq coming back and experiencing all these unique symptoms, it really got me wondering about how many of these actions, possibly even committing suicide, were beyond their control. I also started thinking of how quick I and so many others have been to judge other people who may have PTSD and we don't even know it. To be honest, I never thought before taking this class that someone harming themselves or harming others could be outside of him or her knowing what was going on, or rather that it could be happening unconsciously and below their awareness. It has made me rethink why people act the way they do and what factors, such as the loss of a loved one or having your best friend die in your arms during a battle, can push someone to go off the deep end. I wish not to only examine several potential solutions to PTSD, some of which we have already touched on in class and that have caught my interest, but also if these solutions are feasible or not, according to the environment that society in general has created, as well as my own experiences in dealing with traumatic events in both my life and others' lives. Let's take a step back. This past summer, I experienced a 3-day workshop called Challenge Day that completely changed my life. Challenge Day is for youth, teachers, parents, administrators, counselors, and community members, and successfully addresses the issues of violence, racism, teasing, stereotypes, drugs, and alcohol within the context of teen life. Through a series of games, activities, and group discussions, we were able to break down the barriers that separate us as human beings, allowing us to open our hearts and learn to trust, love, and support each other in becoming the natural leaders we were born to be. The reason I mention this program and the profound impact it has had on my life is because of their stance on what society views as the real problems going on in our world, such as bullying, teasing, stereotyping, racism, harassment, social oppression, drugs, and alcohol, as well as the abuse of each, promiscuity, violence, eating disorders, peer pressure, and ultimately suicide. Challenge Day sees these issues as merely the symptoms of the real problems, those being feelings of isolation, alienation, separation, and loneliness. A big reason I feel for that viewpoint stems from our media, our parents, and our peers constantly reinforcing it into us that it is not okay to cry or express our emotions, that any feelings we may be experiencing should be swept under the carpet and left there. On the contrary, though, and this is something I have discovered personally, tears are strength. And only through experiencing the emotion fully in my own life have I been able to deal with, detach myself, and finally move on after several traumatic events, including the deaths of close friends and family members. All of what I have just described here is exactly what I fear for victims suffering from PTSD, that despite the available treatments for their condition, receiving it is often looked down upon or shunned in today's culture. Just as we saw in the Iraqi War PTSD video, soldiers were afraid to seek help, due to fear of other soldiers thinking them to be weak, incapable, scared, and the list goes on. Before we get into this aspect of addressing PTSD, let us first examine several methods individuals can use to better cope with this disorder. Types of treatment. According to Coulson, recurrent traumatic nightmares are a key symptom of PTSD and are usually due to a severely stressful or catastrophic past event. The author provides several techniques to use to try and eliminate recurrent nightmares, such as this one. I'm carrying the body of my recon team member, Tex, up the hillside on a trail. I lay him down. I look at him to find that Tex changes into my son. I hold him tight and begin to cry. I wake up. Colson, page 383. This was the recurring dream that a Vietnam Marine combat veteran had started having after his son had been gunned down back in 1989. The methods he uses as forms of treatment are grouped into 4 classes. However, I will only touch on 3 in Colson's article. The first is analytic and cathartic techniques, where the nightmare victim is made to comprehend their nightmares within the scope of their own psychological history as well as their current life circumstances. A second technique is labeled storyline alteration procedures, where dreams are given new beginnings and endings to try and figure out a better understanding of the nightmares and get at the heart of the problems that occur in them. For this method, as outlined by Colson, the rules include 1. Confront and conquer dangers in dreams. 2. Move towards pleasurable experiences in dreams. And 3. Make your dream have a positive outcome and derive a creative product from it. Face and conquer approaches, a third method, are described as helping a victim face and confront objects, figures, and characters, while the nightmare is actually taking place. A series of instructions is given to the person suffering from PTSD during the nightmare, enabling him or her to better deal with the issues within the nightmare itself. Based on post-treatment survey results and successful treatment, meaning nightmares had been either completely eliminated or at least reduced in distress, 65% of the participants claimed that their nightmares had been eliminated, while only 35% still reported continuous nightmare episodes. The fourth class of treatments, not talked about and covered in greater detail in the Marcus, Marquis, and Sakai article, dealt with eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR. It compared this technique across 67 individuals with PTSD, ages ranging from 18 to 73 years, with standard care SC treatment. Each person was randomly assigned to receive either the EMDR or SC treatment. All the patients were given assessments prior to treatment, after 3 sessions of treatment, and at the completion of treatment, using several measures including the Symptom Checklist 90, Beck Depression Inventory BDI, Impact of Events Scale, Modified PTSD Scale, Spielberger State Trait Anxiety Inventory, and Subjective Units of Disturbance. Despite several limitations, such as the impossibility to keep a blind assessor throughout the trials due to patient revelations, as well as various safety concerns with regard to client emotional stability, the results did provide meaningful trends. The authors found that those categorized in the EMDR treatment group showed significantly greater improvement with greater rapidity than those suffering from PTSD placed in the SC treatment group. Improvements experienced were on measures of PTSD, depression, anxiety, and other general symptoms. In addition, as was summarized by Marcus, Marquis, and Sakai, EMDR treatment patients needed less psychotherapy and medication appointments than the SC treatment patients. Going back to PTSD among war veterans, Marshall and Dobson outlined several specific stressors that can lead to high amounts of stress among those involved in modern warfare. These include 1. The rapid transport of soldiers both into and out of the war zone, leaving little or no time for adaptation. 2. The proximity of the civilian population and the ambiguity over their enemy status. 3. The use of chemical, nuclear, and biological agents in the combat environments. And 4. The progressive change in the popularity of a war on the home front. So, how do they suggest sufferers of PTSD can get over it? Through the components and strategies implemented in a model known as RECOVER. It is an acronym for the following list of parts of the model, which include, according to Marshall and Dobson, relationship building, emotional connection with the event, cognitive connection with the event, old values, new values, verify and strengthen sense of self, establish a meaning for the event within a total life experience, and reestablish appropriate self-management and social skills. This model, for how these authors and other psychologists saw a solution to PTSD, leads us into the final section. Where do we go from here? I found it very interesting with how much Marshall and Dobson stress the importance of relationship building and for the therapist-veteran relationship to have a strong emotional connection in order for treatment to be successful. I have seen that overall message over and over again throughout my life, which I feel is all about the relationships and memories you form with others that will last a lifetime. It's all about showing someone that you care and see them as a human being before anything else. Unfortunately, much of today's society looks down upon anybody not normal. But that begs the question, what exactly is normal? Who has the right to decide who fits into these categories and who does not belong? These are questions that need to be looked at by not only those in power, but by everybody in society. If we are to move forward and make both treatment and recovery more effective and feasible for disorders such as PTSD. We need to understand that someone suffering from a condition such as the one discussed in this paper could happen to any of us and at any time. Now, more than ever, I see the need to really try and understand the person and situation fully before making any preconceived assumptions that I may hold about him or her. Only then can we start to see someone for their true identity, and only then can we make advancements towards a more peaceful and equal society. Thank you.